This is Jacob from Winter Me This. Um, Preseason's over now. College football season has started. Good game today in Dublin. College football. Missed the under. There was some goofiness that I think attributed to the over, like the onside kick and the one crazy play by the Nebraska quarterback where he ran around for like 15 seconds and threw the ball down the field about 40 yards. I mean, I think a few things contributed to the over, but Northwestern won the game. If you guys remember when I talked about that game on here, one of the things I talked about that Northwestern had a legitimate shot to win the game as an 11 plus point underdog. That was one of the things that I feel like I did really well in that game was handicapped that Northwestern would be in it late. And actually, Northwestern, in my opinion, dominated the football game. The first half was maybe a little more Nebraska friendly, but overall, really, Northwestern was the better football team. Nebraska they even went to a different quarterback in the second half, and I thought their quarterback played pretty well. And that actually probably contributed to them losing. But anyway, reasonable start, obviously, to the season here. Not the best start I could have had because I could have went 2-0 for college, but I went 1-1. Acceptable. I do think that under got beat on a little goofiness. The onside kick was the one that really got me. I just feel like that gave away free points. Didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but I obviously did. But anyways, either way, I think it only missed by one score too, so that was kind of it's just frustrating a little bit. But it was still a good game. Northwestern came out on top, getting when I last saw it 11 points and won the game. The other games actually kind of went chalky today as far as winners and losers. I think UConn covered. UConn got up to an early lead on Utah State and covered, but they still got blown out, I think. But anyways, overall, first week 0 of college football went pretty normal. Northwestern got the win. I don't know what Vegas was at on that 11 plus. And one time I saw it at 13. So I don't really know where they were at on that. Based on that, Northwestern was a very veteran team. It seemed weird to me that they were at 11. It seemed way closer to a 7-point spread to me. But I do think that Nebraska should have been the favorite based upon talent, based upon that transfer quarterback. But I don't think that 11 seemed like a lot. Anyways, and they ended up just losing anyway. So, but anyway, let's get to the NFL. So the preseason over now. A couple teams went undefeated in the preseason. Not surprising that the Ravens did. It's like 24 in a row that the Ravens have won in preseason. So if you haven't been winning on that, that's your fault because that's a very known thing. The Bears went 3-0 in preseason. I don't think they'll win a lot of games this year. Guys, one of the things I want to talk about is some of these preseason things that people, especially sports gamblers, they get hooked on this something they saw in preseason. Maybe their first string offense went against third stringers 3 games in a row and looked really good, or maybe their defense got shredded, but they didn't realize it was mostly second and third stringers out there. Guys, a lot of times the good players that you're going to see play in and play out, they don't play a lot of preseason because the risk of injury is too high. And you're putting miles on them. Every year, players have so many miles, right? So many steps on the field that they really get to take at their maximum talent. And if you waste some of those in the preseason, you better have a good reason. You better be looking for, trying to get, some continuity, some reps in. Maybe you have new receivers, maybe you do O-line, something. But if you're just going to throw them out there without reasoning, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Even teams that have big changes, Denver Broncos, for example, Russell Wilson didn't play a single preseason snap. And most of their top receivers didn't either. So the running backs didn't. So what it shows is that the teams that already know they're set and they're going to be solid tend to not play their starters in preseason. Now there is a few exceptions, all right? There's a few exceptions. Kansas City played their starters a lot during the preseason. I think that some of that was for Mahomes to get used to these new receivers. But I think most of it is that those guys are pretty young. That's a pretty young team, and their miles a year go further than, let's say, the Buccaneers team, which is an older team. So with that said, don't read into the preseason very much at all. If you've seen a team in the preseason that just looks super dominant, there's a good chance they're not going to be very good in the regular season. There's a lot of history with this. In fact, the Lions went 4-0 in preseason 10 years ago or whatever it was and didn't win a game in the regular season, went 0-16. Guys, just don't buy nothing into the preseason, right? What you can find out about the preseason is the quarterback battles. Who won quarterback battles and why did they win? All right, Baker Mayfield won his because he was the better quarterback. Not even that Darnold got hurt. He was going to win before Darnold got hurt. All right, Geno Smith won his up in Seattle. Personally, I think he won it because he's more familiar with the system. All right, I don't think Seattle will be a very good football team this year. And as they start losing games, I think their good players will get frustrated and it'll get worse. Another quarterback battle that people might not have known was a real thing. Was I think it's kind of surprising that this was a quarterback battle, but Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. And I think Daniel Jones won the job handily. I don't think it was as close as people want to say. I've heard a little bit saying that Tyrod Taylor, but I think they wanted Daniel Jones all along. They wanted Tyrod Taylor to push him. And I think we saw Daniel Jones show up in one of the preseason games with what he could be. I've actually talked about this before where I think the Giants, not this year so much, but coming soon, the Giants are going to be good. Based upon what Dable did with Josh Allen. I think he can do the same thing with Daniel Jones. Maybe not to this extent because I don't think Daniel Jones is as just naturally talented as Josh Allen, but I do think he's going to be good. That's some of the stuff I just want to talk about preseason. Don't buy into anything. All right, preseason is for 5 guys to make a spot on a team. I mean, it's really what it's for, unless you're looking for some reps with some position groups or something, but it's not a barometer for what will happen in the season. And this is something that I think sports bettors get caught up in early on, is they look toward, well, they had a great preseason and those guys really showed out. Well, did they show out against third stringers? I mean, so don't use that. In my opinion, what I found works by far the best when the NFL starts their first game of the season, and the NFL has started doing this thing where they match up good teams versus each other, or they match up divisional rivals or some kind of rivalry versus each other week 1, and they did it a bunch this year. All right, for example, Buffalo Bills got to go to the Rams. All right, the Steelers got to play against Cincinnati. I mean, Green Bay, Minnesota, just Dallas, Tampa Bay. I mean, they did this on purpose because they're trying to generate a bunch of interest at the beginning of the year, which they don't really have to, but that's why they schedule these games in this fashion. So what you find is early in the season, good teams versus good teams tend to be really good games. And, but what you can also find is you can find spots where one team that was good last year may have had a bunch of changes against a team that was also good last year that didn't have any changes. And this happens, guys. This does happen. And you just got to be paying attention to it. All right. For example, there's a really good example here. The Steelers' one major change was getting a new quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger was I'm going to be nice and say mediocre last year, but mostly he was not. He actually hurt his team last year. They upgrade to either guy they choose. If they go Trubisky or if they go Pickett, either way, it's an upgrade to Roethlisberger just based on the fact that he can throw it over 30 yards. Both guys can throw it over 30 yards. But what the Steelers mostly did was kept that defense intact. All right, they get to go play a team that just coming off a Super Bowl loss that made crazy changes. Basically, their whole O-line swapped them out. And like I said in a previous video, we saw this last year. We saw the Chiefs do this, and it took the Chiefs about 6 games before they really had it worked out. Now, let's not forget, guys, the Bengals gave up 50 sacks last year. All right, you're going against the top sack man in the NFL, but not just the NFL, all time in a season. TJ Watt, all-time sack leader in a single season. This is who the Bengals get to face first. It's a bad spot for the Bengals, guys. It is. And the Steelers are getting a touchdown. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. I know the Bengals are one of the hype train teams. Oh, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow. Guys, don't get on that hype train. Am I saying that the Bengals will lose the game? No, they might win. They may win. But this game is going to come down to the last possession, probably a field goal. All right. Am I betting it that the Bengals will win? No, I am not. I am taking the points, and I am taking the Steelers' money line, guys. Last year, the Steelers did the same thing. The upstart Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bills that were supposed to be leading the way, going to be the new upstart team, and they ended up being pretty good at the end, right? But the Steelers beat them week 1. Why? Because the Steelers can play defense. And this happens, guys. This is a normal occurrence that the teams that make a lot of changes tend to struggle at the beginning of the year, and the teams that didn't make any changes tend to be pretty good at the beginning of the year. All right, now this flip-flops as the year goes on. A lot of times them older teams start slowing down. But with that said, that was a free pick. I just gave it out on here, guys. Pay attention. I just gave out a free pick. Week 1. Now, I gave this pick out already, but it's just a good spot to be on a pick. So, another game, week 1. I'm going to give you guys out another gift here. This is an absolute gift. Week 1. Look at the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota over. All right, guys, this is going to be a high over. But there's a reason why. Because Minnesota is going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL. No doubt about it. They are going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL. And barring a ton of injuries, guys, they will be the best offense in the NFL. I'm telling y'all. Maybe not the best offense in the NFL, but they'll be top 5. It's just based on their skill players. It's based on their style. Even with the new coach, they're going to be way up there. All right, let me get down to them really quick. Where are you at? All right, here we go. Right now, their total is sitting at 48, 49 and a half. Oh, wait, my bad. I gotta go. I got something messed up here. But anyway, so guys, we are looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. Things are not working out as planned here. Let me get right. I need a person to run all this for me is what I need. One of my big issues. I need some studio people. Need me to be like Pat McAfee. All right, so total right now sitting at 7 touchdowns, 49. Guys, there is no doubt in my mind both of these teams in this game get into the 20s. No doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind in this game that both of these teams get over 24 points. All right? 7 touchdowns is not unusual. These teams play high-scoring games when they're healthy. Both teams are healthy. I know Aaron Rodgers is breaking in some new receivers, but Aaron Rodgers isn't having to break in his running backs. And I think that you're going to see a big Aaron Jones package, a lot of screen stuff, and I think we're going to see Dillon up the middle. One of the things about the Vikings, they don't stop the middle run very well. And I think Green Bay will take advantage of this in this game. And I like this over. I think this over is built for all the types of bets, right? This over is built for parlaying bets because it's a solid play. At 7 touchdowns, you know the Green Bay Packers are going to score between 24 and 28 points a game, and I think Minnesota's going to score between 28 and 31 points a game as the season goes. So this over is going to go over, and it's probably going to go over. I think this game will get to 48, possibly tied, 24-24 maybe. I think it'll get to 48 points pretty early. It's actually one of my favorite plays of the week is this over. And the reason being is because we know what Minnesota's bringing to the table. That high-powered offense, high-powered receivers, and we know what Green Bay's bringing to the table with Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, right? Both teams are going to move the football. Both teams are going to be at a faster pace, and both teams are going to score touchdowns, not field goals. And that's a big thing when you're looking at overs, guys. Do the teams score touchdowns or do they score field goals? And this is really easy to figure out, all right? You look at when you can go look this up, how many of their drives last season or this season or under Aaron Rodgers have ended in touchdowns over field goals. Same thing. You can look this all up, guys. It's all knowledge on the internet. You can just look it up. There's all kinds of sites that keep track of this, right? Free stuff. You just go look it up. Right, so if you're betting overs, look toward if you have two teams that score touchdowns and not field goals, their average for touchdown is much higher than their average for field goal. When they score, them are good overplays. All right, that's one of the things you need to be looking for. Now, as far underplays, like so, here's obviously there's a way to find overs, there's a way to find unders, right? The way that I find unders that I think that aren't obvious, right, is red zone defense. Are both teams good at red zone defense? Are they in the top 10 of red zone defense? Red zone defense tends to turn into field goals, right? Field goals tend to turn into unders. And so that's one of the things you want to be looking for. If you're looking for unders, if you think a game's going to go under, go check out their red zone defense rankings. Are they top 10 in red zone defense? If both teams are, it's probably a pretty good underplay. And these are the things that you need to be looking for as a handicapper, as a sports bettor. If you're not paying for someone like me to look for these for you, then this is the kind of stuff you need to be looking for. All right. Another game. This is another game that I think is probably an upset. All right. And I'm going to go find it again real quick. So, I've obviously given up 2 upsets so far here. Because I actually think Minnesota's going to beat Green Bay. Green Bay's favored, and I don't think they should be. Where's that game at? All right, Dallas Cowboys are underdogs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, last year, if you guys remember this, Dallas was like an 11-point underdog, and it came down to Brady had to have a game-winning touchdown. He had to have a game-winning field goal drive. Sorry. This year, the total's high. It's at 50, but it should be. I think this one last year was like 31-30 or something like that. Now, the Buccaneers aren't a big favorite, but Dallas is in that perfect teaser spot at 1.5 or 2 points. Guys, go get Dallas. Guys, if you want a good teaser right now, go pair up Dallas and pair up Pittsburgh right now in a teaser, and you got a winner. Right? You're going to get Dallas over a touchdown, and you're going to get Pittsburgh up to 12 points. Guys, it's just a good spot. But let me tell you why I think that Dallas is a good outright upset play. It's a very simple reason I think this. Two of Tom Brady's top linemen, the very tip top lineman, his center, of all things, got hurt today. His center is out for 4 to 6 weeks. And Ali Marpet, one of his best players, retired in the offseason. Right? So Tom Brady is going to be dealing with an offensive line that is, I'll say, less than he's used to dealing with, right? Less talented. This is a big problem. This is a really big problem for Tom Brady because Tom Brady doesn't mind edge rushers, but he doesn't like rush up the middle. And that's the big thing. Tom Brady does not like rush up the middle. What is he going to get with Dallas? He's going to get Parsons up the middle. And with the two offensive linemen not being there, them two top dogs like that, they do still have Wirfs in there, but it's going to be shaky on their O line, guys. It's still Tom Brady, and I know that, but in a teaser is a good play on there. You're going to get it up over a touchdown. But I like Dallas to just go in and win this game. I think Dallas's offense will do plenty against this defense. This defense is good, though. Remember, they stopped the run very well. They didn't make any changes, really, so they're going to be able to stop the run. But I do think that Dallas will be able to move the ball on them. They'll be able to throw the ball on them. But the biggest thing is that Tom Brady lost these two linemen. This is going to hurt them bad. Until they get this under control, until they get new pieces, they have 1 week to figure out a center. It's not your right tackle. It's a center. I mean, this is not an easy thing to just plug and play here. Tom Brady is very dependent on his centers. He's had a lot of good ones over the years. And he does not like pressure up the middle, and Dallas will know that. Dan Quinn has a lot of experience against Tom Brady, Super Bowl experience against stuff like that. So look for Parsons to come up the middle a lot on Brady. And as an interesting prop, look for Brady to throw a pick in this game. He's going to be under a lot of pressure. He doesn't have all his top targets out there. He's got not Gronk no more. Look for Brady. You're going to get good plus on it probably. Look for him to throw a pick in this one, guys. I mean, it's a realistic possibility with the type of pressure I think he's going to see. And you're going to get good money on that on a prop there. But if you want a good teaser right now, Dallas, Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh 6.5. Most markets. I'm looking at Vegas Insider right now. If you guys want to know a good website to go look at, multiple betting markets. By betting markets, I mean multiple websites. Go to Vegas Insider. They break it down really well. They tell you what each place is offering, like up to the minute. And you can check that out. So it's a pretty good site to be watching. And right now they have Pittsburgh getting 6.5, and they have in some places Dallas is getting 1.5. Some places they're getting 2. But in a teaser, these are good spots. Now I know a lot of people are going to say the correct way to tease this is Cincinnati down. No, not in this spot. It's not, because you're teasing. You're giving 12.5 points to the Pittsburgh defense is what you're doing. You're saying, here, Pittsburgh defense, start the game with a 12.5 point lead against an offensive line last year. That the one that was there gave up 50 plus sacks. They rebuilt the whole offensive line, guys. It's not going to be ready to see TJ Watt. Not game one. It's just not. He's going to get in there. TJ Watt will probably have 2 sacks, maybe a strip sack. It's going to, in my opinion, it's actually going to be a very telling day for the Bengals. Are they going to be able to stop top pass rushers? If they're not, it's going to be a very long season, guys. Let's not forget. I know the people love the Bengals. The Bengals. Joe Burrow, blah, blah, blah. They went 10-7 last year, guys. Their playoff run was very unlikely, and it was a lot of luck involved in it. All right? Don't get on that Bengals hype train. Now, if the Bengals start the season 4-0, hey, maybe they are. Maybe they have figured it out. I don't think they will. I think they're going to struggle to win 9 games. The rest of their division's all healthy. Cleveland isn't doing whatever Cleveland is doing. It's just more Cleveland type stuff. But look for the Ravens and the Steelers to reclaim their division. They're both healthy. They're both really good. Remember the Steelers? They made the playoffs last year, guys. with just a defense, basically. Um, they added a weapon at receiver, too. The guy is ridiculous, this Pickens guy. All right. Added the weapon, the type of weapon they needed. He's a big bodied guy. All right. They had the little guys. Now they got him a big stud. All right. They got a good running back. Now, their running game wasn't all that great last year, but they have a good running back, and the running game will be better. Look for the Pittsburgh to be a sneaky, sneaky playoff contender. And this sounds crazy, but look for Pittsburgh to be a sneaky number 1 seed contender, guys. 2 years ago, they were 13-3, I believe. They went 13-3 a couple years ago. Last year, they made the playoffs. Guys, this is still a pretty good football team. Don't sleep on the Steelers. Player for player, the Pittsburgh Steelers are far superior to the Bengals. If player to player, far superior. So, don't get caught up in the hype, guys. Stay away from the hype. Another one of the really hyped teams, guys, is San Francisco. I've been talking about this. Trey Lance is not ready. Not from a he's a bust standpoint, but he's just not ready. He hasn't had enough pass attempts in his life as a competitive quarterback. It's less than 1,000. All right. A lot of these guys have more than 1,000 pass attempts in college at Division I schools. He hasn't had 1,000 pass attempts since high school. Guys, he just hasn't had the reps. If you talk about, if you ever hear quarterbacks and receivers talk, they say it takes 10,000 reps to get comfortable with each other. 10,000 reps. So that means that that's why it takes quarterbacks sometimes 4 or 5 years before they're really, really good. Now, if they were in college and they took a ton of reps in college, they tend to translate to the pros much better. And I actually put a post out on this on YouTube about this. I showed some statistics. I showed some busts, and I showed some guys that made it and some Hall of Famers. And there's a clear correlation between their pass attempts in college and how they turn out in the pros. And the reason is because when you see better talent and you play against them, you get rep after rep after rep against better talent, you tend to get better. And that's why guys like Mahomes and Herbert have made the transition really easy, because they threw the ball a ton in college. And so they were better at playing against good players. And I think Trey Lance is going to struggle with this. I think we've seen it a little in the preseason. And this is one of the things you can gather from the preseason. If a guy is supposed to be really good and he struggles against 2s and 3s, which Trey Lance did, look for some stumbling blocks early on. Now they get a gift. They get to go on the road to Chicago. And if I was going to choose between Justin Fields and Trey Lance at this moment, I think Justin Fields is the better quarterback right now. I think Justin Fields, his reps in college versus his reps in the pros so far, he's the better quarterback right now. They're getting 7 points. If Chicago's defense wasn't just so bad, and it's going to be so bad, I would be looking at these points as a possible play. But it's just too many, all right? Just way too many problems in Chicago. They have way too many holes, as I'll put it, to fill. Do I think that Fields will be good? I think he'll be pretty good. He's facing San Francisco defense that's going to give him a lot of problems, and he doesn't have any really legitimate weapons to go up against them. And their pass rush in San Francisco is really good. So it's just not a good spot to be with the Bears, even at home on a home opener. Home dogs, 7 points though. It's hard to shy away from that. It's usually a pretty good play, but here I don't think it is. And if you're looking at a teaser on San Francisco Bears game, tease San Francisco down to just win the game. Tease it down to 1 point. Guys, San Francisco's the better team. Even with Trey Lance, I even think Trey Lance could make a couple mistakes in this game, and San Francisco still wins by 10. It just has to do with the Chicago's just not that talented. So now, could Fields make it a close game in the fourth quarter and they cover that 7? Yeah, they could. This is one of the ones I probably won't play it on the ATS. If I play San Francisco, it'll be San Francisco in a teaser. If not, this would be one of the ones that I would be looking at the under, and it's a really low total. It's 42, but the thing is I don't think San Francisco's going to score a ton even against a bad defense, and I don't think that the Bears will score very much at all. So it's kind of the situation where is San Francisco going to score 35 points? Maybe. They very well could. So, but if I'm going to play it, I'm playing San Francisco just on a teaser. That's the only way I'd play that game. But I just wanted to bring up the Trey Lance and Fields thing because they are kind of connected, right? They kind of came at the same time. Little connection there. Kind of the same type of player. So, do I think Fields is the better quarterback than him right now? I do. And I actually think he'll be the better quarterback than him moving forward until Trey Lance gets enough reps in the NFL. Then I think we'll get a good chance to look at him. But as far as right now and Trey Lance, I don't think Trey Lance is all that great of an NFL quarterback. And I don't think he will be right away. But anyways, Thursday night, boys. Starts Thursday. Thursday night, we have Bills traveling to the Super Bowl champs. Super Bowl champs are an underdog. 2.5-point underdog. It's a good teaser spot. The only problem is that Aaron Donald might be hurt. That if Aaron Donald's hurt, you got to stay away from the Rams. They need Aaron Donald. He controls the whole middle of the field, controls the running game, and rushes the passer. If he's hurt, he's not going to play in the game, which he very well may not. It's a bad spot for the Rams. Only giving up a field goal, the Bills are an okay play there. If you're playing the Bills, you should be on the money line. That way you don't got to worry about the points, just the Bills win. If you like the Rams, you should be looking at a teaser, right? 2.5 isn't enough to just jump on the Rams. If you're going to do that, you might as well play the money line, all right? If you're going to tease it up to 8.5, it makes sense, right? It's the Rams offense is still going to be really good. They are going to face a pretty good Bills offense, our Bills defense, but and Von Miller. So Von Miller knows a little bit about them, and so he could help there. But mostly, I still think that it'll be really hard for the Bills to cover the Rams receivers, especially without a fully healthy cornerback group. So, and really their whole secondary isn't fully healthy. So I actually think this game's going to be a lot closer. It's probably going to come down to the last drive, maybe a field goal. I think Vegas has this one pretty good, pretty close. 52 seems high to me for week 1 opening day. Even with the high-powered offenses, 52 just seems high, especially because I think Sean McVay's plan going in will be more of a ball control plan to keep the ball away from Allen. So I actually think that 52 is a little high, and I know people say you shouldn't tease the totals, but if you're teasing it up to 58, that's a lot. It's a lot to go over. That's a lot of touchdowns. That's 8 touchdowns in the game. That doesn't even get over, right? So it's 8 touchdowns and something. You got to have 8 touchdowns on something else. So that's a lot, guys. It's a lot, especially week 1. You go back and look at week 1's. I think it's about 50-50 to the over and under. But if you looked at it at how many of them went over 58 points, there's probably not very many. Maybe one. I don't know that stat personally, but I bet it's not very many on Thursday night openers. So I know a lot of handicappers say don't tease the totals, but what I've found is that when you see totals that you think are off and you tease them in your favor, you tend to win. In fact, I've done some research on this. I've put it in and put in the work and grabbed a couple teams, just random teams, and said, okay, if I teased the totals either way, how many games did these guys cover? And believe it or not, guys, about 75% of the time, that either way you tease the total, it covers. So that's a pretty good statistic. So you could really just tease totals, pair totals two a piece on whichever way you think you should be teasing them, and you should do pretty well. And I know that that's one of the things that handicappers, a lot of the other handicappers say you shouldn't do, but the actual when you do the research on it, it actually says you should. It says you should tease totals, but and that it actually doesn't matter which way you tease them for the most part, because the large majority of football games end between 44 and 50. So if the totals tend to be 48, 46, 50, you're always landing in that box. And so that's one of the things that, so you hear a lot of this rhetoric like, oh, home dogs, and don't tease totals, and don't tease if it's not Wong teasers. Guys, that's all good stuff. But if you go look deeper, some of that stuff is either old information and hasn't been updated, or that's just a handicapping style someone is promoting. Guys, there's a lot of ways to win, especially in the NFL. In fact, if you want to be a really good NFL handicapper, just bet prop bets. Right? Bet the guys that tend to throw an interception every game. Bet them to throw an interception every game. I mean, you're going to come out ahead. If you bet the guys a lot of times like Lamar Jackson, his rushing total will be sometimes down into the 60s. When it's down into the 60s, bet it over. All right. Some other guys, sneaky rushing yards for the quarterbacks. Great prop bets, guys, are quarterback rushing yards. All right. Guys like Mahomes will be sometimes like 22. Right. He's going to run over 22 yards in a game because he sneaks out the back for first downs. All right. Another one that's kind of sneaky, you'll get really low yardage totals are guys like my mind is Derek Carr. Sorry, I think I had one last year for Derek Carr that was 6.5. On the second play of the game, I think he ran for like 25 yards. Whatever it was, he was in the first drive. It was covered. You just look for some of those rushing totals for quarterbacks, guys, because a lot of times what you're going to find is they're not handicapped very well. And if they're 15 yards or lower, and your name isn't Tom Brady, it's about guaranteed, because they're going to sneak out of the backside a couple times to get first downs, or to just run for 5 or 6 yards. And a lot of times in those plays, they get 10 or 12 because there's just no one on that side of the field. And this is where you get Mahomes is to come in a lot. So look at Mahomes' total. Say if they're under 30, it's almost guaranteed. It's almost a guaranteed win if they're under 30. Now, sometimes they'll get in that 28, 29, 30 range. I tend to stay away. But when they're down in that 22 range, I bet it almost every week. And the reason is just that, is that when those DBs and they all drop back in that shell coverage, it leaves a lot of room for him to just go grab a few yards. And this happens, 5, 6, 7 times a game. And he generally doesn't get negative rushes. So look for those props as well. Another one that I think we're going to see the props this year happen relatively often is the over 2.5 touchdowns props, because a lot of teams loaded up on offensive touchdown throwing weapons, right? Miami Dolphins, Las Vegas Raiders, even the Denver Broncos in a sense, because they got Russell Wilson. Now a couple teams went backwards. Green Bay, I think, went backwards. But so you got a few of these, the Philadelphia Eagles, that added really stud type wide receivers. And these teams did this, and so you're going to get a lot of their touchdown props, especially like Jalen Hurts. He's only going to be 1.5. It means he only has to throw 2 touchdowns a game, and he has a pretty good receiving core. All right, so look for these. A lot of times you're going to get plus money on them. And so the prop market in the NFL is wonderful. The prop market in the NFL is so good because there's so many props given out on every game, especially the quarterbacks, that you tend to find spots where They just handicapped an average and then leaned one side or the other. Well, if you look at, hey, this team, a quarterback's average rushing 45 yards a game on them, and you got a rushing prop, a guy, and it's 11. I mean, it's just good spots, good things to look for. But another thing, like when you're looking for quarterback interception props, right? One of the things you want to look for is, does this team intercept the football? you know, some teams don't. Some teams just don't get that many interceptions. So there's reasonings behind that. Either they don't have a good pass rush, or their defensive backs are just terrible at catching, or they don't, get a lot of tight coverage. Another thing you want to look at in interception props is, you're betting a guy that's prone to interceptions, but does he throw the ball 40 times a game? If he does, you have 40 chances to catch one of them in a game. That's a lot, right? You get a lot of opportunity there. And so guys that I tend to look for, like I'll be looking at Geno Smith this year a lot. I'll be looking at Justin Fields. I'll be looking at Trey Lance, even though Trey Lance is a little trickier because they run that gimmicky offense, but against the good secondaries, I'll definitely be looking for it. Like I said early on, I'll be looking at Tom Brady, and you would think it, but last year he had a run of games where he threw like an interception in 5 straight games. So it's a lot more common than you might think. Another guy that I think is going to throw the ball a lot is Tua. I'll be looking at his interception props a lot. And a lot of that just has to do with the volume of throws I think we're going to see. The higher volume of throws, the more chances you have to intercept one. It's not really that difficult. Another guy that I think will throw some interceptions again this year is the kid down in Houston, the Davis Mills kid. I think he's going to get a lot more opportunities this year to throw the football, and I think he's going to throw some picks. And even Trevor Lawrence. And I think Trevor Lawrence will throw picks based more on trusting his talent too much. He is a really talented guy, and they will be good. But just, guys, these are spots you can find week in and week out that are easy plays. Like last year, every time Zach Wilson was in a football game, I bet the interception prop. Because it was just almost a gimme that he was going to throw it to the other team. And guys, this isn't something unusual. And so when you find those spots, you find teams that are going to be playing from behind a lot. All right, so their quarterback's going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball against heavy pass rushes. If you're playing against the Falcons of last year and probably this year too, the Falcons had only like 15 sacks last year, so they really weren't getting to the quarterback. So the teams playing against them probably didn't throw a lot of interceptions. So this is the spots that you need to be looking for when teams are playing against Dallas. Look for their quarterback to throw interceptions, because Dallas does two things: they rush the passer well and they intercept the ball well. So look for that. Sometimes it's the defense that dictates the interceptions, right? Do they have a good pass rush, and do they catch the ball when it's thrown to them? So look for all those things when you're looking at bets in the NFL. It doesn't just have to be, hey, this team's going to win by 3. There's a lot of plays out there, and check them all out, because most of the time the prop bets are better value, and on top of the better value, they are easily more consistent. Because a lot of times, if you're looking at for example, Jonathan Taylor last year, his rushing yard props got up into like the 110s, and they were still picked. You should still be going over, because he was rushing for like 140 yards a game. So you still had a ton of value there, and you knew he was going to get the ball. You knew that they were going to hand him the ball about 30 times. So you knew you were going to have your opportunities, and you knew he was going to get yards. And I think he went over almost all of those that were that high. I think he might have missed one, and it was close, because I think I lost a little on it. But them are the things you need to look for. Scoring a touchdown in a game, guys. If you're going to bet those kind of props, bet the guys that score. Don't bet the big value guys, the plus 500s, Guys, bet the minus 110 guys to actually get the ball thrown to them or actually get the ball handed to them. Don't take those big risks on guys that you hope will score. Take the risk on the guys that actually do score. That's one of the things that I think people, they weigh the value too high and they weigh the probability too low. And so that's what I look for. Are they actually going to do these things? Are they going to even be in the game? Because a lot of times you'll see a deep threat will have a plus 650 and you're like, oh, he only has to catch one. Well, then he never catches any because he never gets targeted. So, again, guys, these are the kind of things that I look for in the NFL. I gave out some free picks in this game. I've given out some free advice in this thing as far as how to look at some bets, the way you should be looking at bets, especially early on in the season. Now, after about week 4, guys, teams start lining out and things start getting very consistent, and the good teams are good and the bad teams are bad, usually week in and week out. Last year was a very unique situation. There was a lot of very equal teams. Part of that was injuries to some really good teams that got hurt, and part of it was there were some upstart teams. All right. But overall, the parity was very even last year. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I actually think that we're going to see a large separation between the good and the bad, and there will be a far smaller middle, where the teams in the middle are a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller group. I think last year there was a very small group of good teams and a very small group of really bad teams, and the middle was massive. All right, and the middle's hard to bet. That's where the hard bets are, is in the middle. So I think this year, with the movement of the quarterbacks, with the way teams got receivers was big movers this year, pass rushers, I think that the good teams tended to get better and that the bad teams kind of got worse. In Seattle's case, they definitely got worse. A team that got better was, in my opinion, was the Eagles. Another team that got a lot better, in my opinion, was the Raiders. I think the Raiders got significantly better with who they picked up. Not only their coach, but when they pick up Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams, your team has to get better. You cannot get worse by picking those players up. So, some teams that I think got worse in other ways. I think Green Bay. You can't lose Devontae Adams and get better at receiving. You can't. You can't make me believe you did. So, and you can't make me believe you can. And some teams that stood pat, right? I mean, the Buffalo Bills, their big offseason, they acquired Von Miller. It's a big offseason acquisition. It filled a hole they had at pass rusher. But the rest of the stuff kind of stayed the same. They didn't really need anything. A lot of people think that Tyreek Hill's going to be this big loss for the Chiefs. I don't. I think it just makes the Chiefs more of it makes them a harder cover, because now you don't know where he's going to throw the football. Before, I think every team knew that he was going to choose one of two guys, and every now and then he would throw it to someone else. In the preseason, you've seen Patrick Mahomes literally throw it to every receiver on his team. And I don't think it's because he's trying to. I think he's just throwing it to who's open. Be watching out. I think the Chiefs are really scary. Luke getting rid of Hill and getting the haul they got for him, just the amount of value they got for him, only helps them. And it helps them now and in the long run. The Karapalakis or whatever pass rusher guy they got, he's going to be a stud. I mean, they just did really well. Andy Reid did it again. Andy Reid's really good at rebuilding his team year in and year out. Even though I wouldn't call him underrated, but I think he's an underappreciated coach. He gets it done. He wins. But that's the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff I look at, guys. I don't always look at, oh, hey, there's really good value here on this money line, or if I win one out of every 3 of these, I'll be in the profit. I don't look at that. I want to know what's going to win. When I put the ticket in, I don't want it to have to be, okay, if I take a plus 200 and I win one of them, I did good, right? I don't want that. That's not how I want to play. I want to play where Yeah, I might have laid 115, but I won, So, in my opinion, that value system of handicapping is very overrated. Um, but anyways, I don't know, it's kind of where I'm at. I know I talk a lot about that, but that's because the huge majority of handicappers handicap that way. And guys, let's make no mistake. Most handicappers struggle to do better than 50%. And 52, 53% is a lot of times where they ride. Anything over that, you're doing pretty well. If you're handicapping, especially multiple sports at over 53%, you're doing pretty good. You really need to get to about 57% before you're making real money. And these are all really legitimate facts, guys. It's the way it works, it's the way the juice works. So you really have to be doing well. Now, can you make money at 55, 56%? Yeah, you're probably going to make a little. But if you want to actually be profiting and profiting something um, that has some substantialness to it, you need to be at 57 or higher. And it's hard to do, guys. It's a very hard thing to do. But that's where you need to be. And make no mistake, that's the absolute truth of it. Anyone that's bet on sports for a long time knows that. And also, guys, one of the ways you should judge handicappers, and this is how I judge them, ones that aren't myself, is the specifics in their handicaps. All right, guys, not all handicaps pan out. All right, but did the specifics in the handicap happen? For example, the college football game I handicapped earlier this week. It was Northwestern and Nebraska. I said that Northwestern would be in the game late and had a chance to win. My reasoning behind that was pretty simple. Northwestern is a very veteran team with a very veteran O line, and their quarterback was clean pretty much all day, and he was throwing the ball down the field. He's a veteran quarterback, and Nebraska had 22 transfers in. That's a bad sign. That means that a lot of people left because they didn't graduate them. So now they did have some stud transfers come in, and they played well today, but with 11 points was part of that handicap. And so by judging a handicapper now, if I would have lost that game, but you would have saw, hey, the line held up all day, but Nebraska was just super overpowered, right? And they just scored on every drive. Now, if that happens, it happens. But sometimes you have the right handicap and you lose. And sometimes you have the wrong handicap and win. So, but in this case, I had the right handicap. Northwestern ends up winning the game in pretty dominant fashion in the second half. And Nebraska's unfamiliarity with each other showed in the second half. And the consistency that Northwestern had with the veteran play showed also in the second half. And you saw it. Northwestern was willing to kick field goals and punt on fourth downs that they should have probably went for it when Nebraska was not. And it had to do with that the coach for Northwestern knew his guys and he knew that they were playing well on offense and defense, and they got it done. Now, what I mean by judging your handicapper by their specifics, if they come out and say, Josh Allen is going to have a terrible day today because the rush up the middle for this team is good. And then you watch the game and there's no rush up the middle and Josh Allen throws for 4 touchdowns. That handicapper didn't know what he's talking about. Now, if you watch the game and the rush up the middle is good and Josh Allen's running for his life every play but still throws for 4 touchdowns, the handicapper was right. It just didn't pan out. All right. So that's what you should judge handicappers on. What are they saying specifically? What are their specifics? Because specifics show in-depth looks at things. They show more than just line shopping, right? Oh, hey, this line here at this book is 25 cents different than this line, so it's a good play. All right, guys, judge their specifics. I've had a bunch of specifics in this video. For example, I said bet interception props for quarterbacks that are throwing the ball 40 times against defenses that intercept the ball a lot. That's pretty specific. So you run into the situation, even the good quarterbacks, even your Mahomeses and your Brady's and your Rodgerses, They're going to throw the ball 40 times against a team that's good at getting after them, and they're going to throw the ball to the other team a few times. A tip ball. There's a lot of things that can happen. All right, ball pops up off a lineman's helmet. But it's the volume of throws that gives you the opportunities that makes it a good play. It's not the value, even though you're probably getting plus 140 on those guys. It's not the value that makes a good play. It's the situation. So now you see a guy like Lamar Jackson. He's terrible to bet interception props with because he might only throw the ball 17 times. Right? Lamar Jackson is like the worst interception prop bet out there. He just doesn't throw the ball very much, and when he does throw the ball, it's usually a lot of rollouts where he has a flood concept and there's some wide open black guys. He just tosses it to him. Lamar Jackson is actually a very accurate quarterback. I know a lot of people won't believe that, but if you go look it up, he's pretty accurate. And the reason is because they put him in really good situations with really easy passes. He doesn't throw the ball very much. There's been plenty of games where he's thrown the ball in the lower teens and they've won by 20 because he rushes for 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, so stay away from guys like Lamar. He just doesn't throw the ball enough to make it valuable. And lean toward guys like, Fields and guys that are going to be playing from behind all the time, are guys that are going to be throwing a lot. It just lean toward those guys if you're going to pick interception props. Guys, let me assure you that accuracy is a very small factor in the interception prop bet. All right. It's not nowhere near as big as you'd think because think about it like this. The most accurate quarterback in the NFL is either Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, probably. I don't know the statistic specifically, but I bet it's one of those two guys, right? But at the end of the half, they throw a Hail Mary and it gets caught by the defense. It's still an interception. Did it change that they're an accurate quarterback? No. But it was just a situational thing. So these are all factors that factor into that stuff. So just pay attention to interception props, guys. It's a really good bet to be betting. Quarterback rushing yards are really good bets to be betting because they're handicapped poorly usually, or they're handicapped on the low side. And so you tend to have a lot of upper range value in those. Now on the interception, it's usually just does or doesn't, or over 0.5. But sometimes it's not. Like that year that Jameis threw 30, his were getting up to -1.5. And in fact, last year, I think in Zach Wilson's 4th game, it was -1.5. I still took he threw 2. So again, some of that does change. They do handicap it differently sometimes if they see a trend moving one way or the other, because obviously the statistics can move handicaps the way they've been trending. Lamar Jackson's rushing yards handicaps tend to trend with the rushing defense of the other team. All right, so when you see Lamar Jackson in the 60s, especially the low 60s, it's almost always a play for me to play over. Now, sometimes he'll get up into the 70s and I stay away from it. I don't play the under, but I stay away from it. But one of the things that the handicappers do is they put too much emphasis on rush defense versus Lamar Jackson. His rushing yards are different because he gets rushing yards. He reads 1 or 2 reads and then he bolts. So his running out of the pocket for first downs is not the same. Plus, Lamar Jackson tends to have one long run every game. All right, one over 40-yard run a game. So if you have a 65-yard rushing prop and you're pretty sure he's going to get 40 of it in one try, and guys, this is pretty consistent. Go check it out. If you don't believe me, it happens a lot when he's on the field. His rushing yard prop is a moneymaker. All right? His interception prop, unless you're betting the under, is not a moneymaker. All right? So, again, these are just some small angles. I'm giving you guys some stuff to think about, especially week 1. And one of the things that the teams I'm bringing up, the reason I'm bringing them up kind of consistently is because a lot of these teams are the ones that are going to be really good early. All right, the Ravens are going to be good early, guys. Let's hold on. I think the Ravens have a great matchup. I can't remember who it is. Let me look at the Ravens. I think they have one of the better matchups. Oh yeah, they play the Jets, and it's only a 7 point. This is only 7 points. The Ravens are a great teaser team. Tease them down to just win the game. 7 points. Ah, this is a huge, huge mashup discrepancy, guys. This is going to be Joe Flacco playing against the Ravens. Joe Flacco is a statue. The Ravens are going to terrorize him. Uh, the the Jets don't have the tools. They don't have the pieces of the puzzle to contend and compete with the Ravens, especially Lamar Jackson driven Ravens. And the Jets won't be able to stop him. They won't be able to stop his running game, and it'll open up the play action passing. Look for all the guys on the Ravens to have big days. Andrews, big day. Running backs, big day. Lamar Jackson, big day. Jets, it's a gift for the Ravens, gift, and it's in the Jets. So the Ravens are getting a gift away game. Oh, this is a gift game. Really, really, really gifty game. You're getting minus 110 on the -7. If you got six, and some places it's 6.5, or you're having to put 120. Either way, this is a great teaser spot. Just be looking for this, man. The over and under in this one's 44.5. This is one of the ones where I'm not so sure the Ravens won't get all of that. So I'm going to stay away from that total. I very well think the Ravens could get all of that in this one. I do think the Jets will turn it over a bunch. The Ravens are going to be tenacious, guys. Let's not forget the Ravens were just pretty damn good right before a string of injuries for a couple years. It's tough one. But so that's the kind of stuff you should be looking for, guys. And this is one of the ones that I think the early parts of the season, guys, I tend to be really good at. I think last year, week 1, 2, and 3, I think week 1 I went 5-1. Week 2 I might have went 6-0, and I think week 3 I went 7-1. And then I got COVID on week 4, and I went 0-4. But I attribute that to me having COVID, and I wasn't thinking right. And I also attribute it to Tennessee losing to the Jets, because that was a big one of my plays that week. But I had COVID that week, and it messed me up, man. COVID messed me up bad when I had it. So, but as far as another fun game, one of the funnest games of the week will probably be Arizona playing Chiefs going to Arizona. On that turf, it's going to be a real fast game. I mean, the total reflects it's 53.5. I think it'll probably clear that. I fully expect the Chiefs to get in the 30s in this one. I don't think that the Arizona defense is going to be very good this year. I think it's actually going to take some legitimate steps back. Plus, I actually think the Chiefs defense has got better. They have 2 of the fastest linebackers in the NFL. They played a bunch last year. They drafted that stud pass rusher. They actually drafted a pretty good corner. Now he's in concussion protocol. I do think he'll make it for the game. And then you got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster now. I mean, the pieces are there, guys. The pieces are there. Don't think the Chiefs are going to take a step back. Their defense got better. Their defense got better more than Tyreek Hill hurt them. So just look for this. I think that the Chiefs are going to have a big day against Arizona. I do think Arizona will score just because Kyler Murray's pretty good. They have some really good players on offense. They will score. And they have a good style, the way they play with the running game and James Conner and stuff, a lot of passes to him. It'll give the Chiefs some problems, but the Chiefs' fast linebackers should limit some of it. But it'll go over 53.5 in my opinion. It's not necessarily something I'm running out to bet. If I was going to be looking at this game, I would be looking at the Chiefs' money line on the road. They are favored on the road, -3 or 3.5. I'll be looking at the money line, pairing it money line with something else. Usually, probably like one that I think is a pretty easy lock. Like the Denver game. I think Denver going up to Seattle, Russell Wilson's return versus Geno Smith, Denver's defense versus Geno Smith, and that secondary versus Geno Smith. It's going to be a long day for Seattle. It just is. Russell Wilson will probably have a pretty good day. it might start out a little shaky, but just because of the nerves, but the teams are very lopsided. So look for that to be a big one on Monday night. Another thing I want to talk about, guys, is when you're making parlays and teasers, unless you need the money to generate through the day, you should attach the Monday night game to it. And what I mean by this is you should attach the Monday night game to it in the fashion that you play a money line, the favorite on the money line. And let me explain why. Because let's say you have a two pick. Let's say you have the Steelers and San Francisco in a money line parlay. You should attach the favorite for Monday night to it. Why is that? Because if those first two picks come in, you can say, okay, well, I have this much money that if Denver, the favorite, wins, then I'm going to make. So you can come back on the Seattle side that's going to be plus money on their money line and hedge it some. So you can make it to where you have a window where you can't lose. And so this is something you should be doing. You should, if you're in your parlays and your teasers, you should be adding the favorite on Monday night to them. If you have the kind of bankroll to manage to where when you do have those tickets that are in line to win, where you can go take the other side of it on the money line, because you're going to get the underdog on a plus money line. And you're going to put yourself in a spot where you can't lose then. You're going to put yourself in a spot where you can only profit. Now, you don't have to do it every time. You can ride the ticket out. But you can even do it with a two-pick. You can match them all with the Monday night game. That way, when it comes down to it, you can hedge where you need to hedge, all right? And you can generate plays that way. If you think that you have 4 solid plays during the week, during the Sunday days, the Sunday games, pair them, every one of them, with the Monday night game. Because then when Monday night, and the Monday night, it's the favorite. You have to pair them with the favorite. That way, when you come to Monday night, you can say, okay, I'm going to put a unit here, a unit here, a unit here, a unit here, all on San Francisco, or all on Seattle, getting plus whatever it is, plus 220 or something. All right. That way, either team can win and you're going to profit. All right, guys, this is a thing you should be doing. Right now, if you need the money to generate, if you have a very small bankroll, and so you need the morning games to generate you some money so you can play the Sunday night game, I get it. I've been there. But if you don't, this is a very good technique, and this is a technique that a lot of handicappers don't talk about, but they use it. Right? You play your parlays that your teams, you parlay them with the Monday night favorite. And that way, when Monday night rolls around, you have all these tickets that only need the favorite to come in. You're going to have these gaps, these windows where you can put some money on the other side. And no matter what happens in the game, you win. Now, obviously, you could tie and lose, but it doesn't happen very often. So keep that in mind. Hopefully, you guys take that to heart and use that. That's a very good money-making strategy, especially weeks that there is a lot of favorites that are going to win, but they're big favorites, right? They're big money line favorites. They're plus 3 or minus 350. When you pair them with that game Monday night, you take away some of that damage on the juice. And you can do it with the Sunday night game too, if you want, but you can really only do the morning games with the Sunday night, because sometimes the afternoon games stretch too far. Now, sometimes you know who's going to win them, but that's another thing you should be looking at. And these are handicapping techniques that aren't just really availably known from what I've seen. In fact, I've never heard anyone talk about what I just talked about, but I know they do it because it only makes sense. It's almost a type of arbitrage betting. So, you came in on one side, and like sometimes lines flip. If you get the underdog on one side and then the line flips and you get the underdog on the other side, you can't lose. So this is kind of what you're doing here when you're moving that, and you got the favorite. So no matter what, if you just want to ride it out, you like the favorite's great. Now you got a boosted bet. You're going to get a little more money on it. But if you're shaky on that favorite, tickets in hand, all you got to do is come back with a single play on the underdog. No matter what happens, one of those tickets will cash. As long as you do your math right, you should be profitable. So keep that in mind, guys. And that's a very good technique to use week in and week out. Um, is especially on the harder weeks sometimes. Sometimes the weeks the games don't line up really well, but this is a way you can make money. All right, this is a way you can get extra money out of games without having to be right. That's the thing is you're making it so you don't have to be correct on a football game. If you can be correct on one on Sunday, you don't have to be right on one on Monday. And because you can already have bet it in a fashion that it doesn't make a difference. And so this is something I've been wanting to talk about. I really need to make a whole video on it and kind of show it more in depth and maybe have a diagram or something to show what I'm talking about. But I think most of you guys will get it. It's just one of those things that if you do this stuff, this helps you profit. So guys, I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to talk about this some. Hopefully you guys like this video. It was kind of long, but it was pretty much about betting in the NFL. So hope you guys like what you heard, and hopefully I gave some people some information that can help them with week one. Guys, I'm going to have more videos as the week goes on. Leading up to Thursday, I'm going to give out my whole Thursday play for free. I've decided that I'm giving out everything for Thursday night that I'm going to have money on. I'm going to give it out for free. And guys, on the 1st, and the reason is we got to do it on the 1st, is that is when it'll be available to join my forum and to get all the picks I play, no matter what sport it is. I'm going to post them on this forum for $25 a month. Go to my website, but it's not available to the 1st because it's a month-long subscription. Every 1st is going to be $25, guys. But this is the kind of stuff you're going to get. I'm going to post every single one of my plays that I play, all my breakdowns on this forum every week for football, for pro football, baseball, hockey, NCAA basketball, pro basketball, whatever it is. If I have a breakdown and I have a play on it, I'm putting it on here. And that's what it's going to be. $25 is going to get you. It's also going to get you any of my breakdowns and direct contact with me in the forum, and the other people will be able to talk in the forum as well. But this is going to be the way I'm doing it from here on out. That way I only have to post all my stuff to one spot. And obviously, if you've purchased the subscription, you'll be able to log right in and look right at it and check out what you like. I'm gonna have my records up there, what I'm doing good at, what I'm doing bad at. I'm gonna be having hot plays, and then also during the games, if I'm betting live, I'm going to be having some stuff on there on the forum typed in what I'm betting live. So you'll be able to watch that if you're interested to see where I'm at live. These are all things I'm trying to take my sports betting side of my channel to, on my website and all that. And guys, make no mistake, $25 a month for all my plays is a bargain. All right, for all my information, everything I'm going to be doing is a bargain. $25 a month is nothing. Go look at the other handicapper stuff. $25 a month is nothing. So check it out. It's worth your time. We'll make some money. I imagine this is going to be a very profitable football season based upon the less parity. Parity made it hard in the NFL, guys. Parity makes it really hard in the NFL. When it's not very much parity, it's a lot easier. So, guys, be ready for this season. Got a good start going. The first slate of games, it's a very teaser-happy first slate. I think the teasers are going to pay off huge in week one. I think Vegas is going to take a bath on teasers in week one. I think Vegas is going to make some of the money back on some of the favorites they're going to lose outright, that people like a lot. So, but I think the teasers are the big plays in week one. I think they're over the top good. So I'm going to have some of that out. But like I said, I'm going to give out all of Thursday, game one, NFL regular season for free. I'm going to give out everything I'm playing on it. But guys, again, on the 1st, go to my website, wagermethis.com. Check it out. You can purchase my subscription. If you purchase it now, you'll have to purchase it again on the 1st. So don't purchase it now. But it's going to be right there. Just click it. It's going to have everything I do on it. So, and it's really safe and secure. I'm not trying to rip anybody off. You'll get login credentials, all that good stuff. You'll log right into the forum, and I will be on there every day, putting stuff on there, talking about sports, giving angles, showing trends, doing everything I do I'm going to be posting on there. So it's going to be a pretty big value for 25 bucks. Guys, most people spend more than 25 bucks per bet. So for once a month, you throw me a unit. I mean, it's worth my information. I guarantee it. So anyways, guys, thank you for your time. You have a great day.